The young finch was standing on the neck of a living marine iguana. Dark ticks crowded across the reptile's face, neck, and body. Inside one protected fold, a swollen parasite remained hidden between the scales. The bird leaned forward and gripped it with the tip of its bill. The tick resisted. Then it came free. But before the juvenile could swallow it, the parasite slipped from its bill. It rolled down the iguana's shoulder and landed on the black volcanic rock below. A larger finch saw it fall. Both birds jumped down and rushed toward the same tiny meal. The marine iguana lifted its chest and shifted its heavy claws across the lava. The fallen tick rolled toward the edge of the lower ledge. The juvenile reached it first. The adult competitor closed in from the opposite side. Behind them, a wave began rising against the rock shelf. The adult finch took flight. The juvenile remained beside the prey for one moment longer. Water raced toward its feet. To understand why the young bird had taken this risk, we have to return to earlier that morning. At first light, 3 Darwin's ground finches searched across a dry volcanic shelf above the tide line. Each bird inspected a different crack, patch of algae, or piece of loose debris. The juvenile pushed its short conical bill into a narrow gap between 2 lava rocks. A tiny shoreline beetle emerged. Before the young bird could reach it, the larger adult moved in and took the prey. The juvenile searched beneath a strip of dried algae. Only loose plant fibers and one tiny arthropod appeared. Food was available, but every small item required another search. The young bird crossed toward a darker section of rock closer to the water. A wet trail stretched across the lava, long claw marks pressed through salt and algae. The birds followed the trail independently toward the tidal edge. Its maker climbed from the lower rocks. A large adult marine iguana pulled itself above the wash of the waves. Its muscular body was almost overwhelmed by dark ticks. Dense clusters crowded the head, cheeks, throat, and neck folds. More parasites covered the shoulders, forelimbs, back, flanks, and base of the tail. The eyes remained visible. The nostrils and mouth were still clear. Low serrated spines ran from the necks along the back. Powerful curved claws gripped the rough lava. Seawater drained from the belly and tail. The iguana stopped on a broad shelf above the tide line. It expelled a brief spray of salt from its nostrils and lowered its body against the warm rock. The finches remained several steps away. The adult competitor approached first. It searched beside one heavy front claw and caught a tiny arthropod moving through damp algae. The iguana did not react. The bird hopped onto the upper flank. Near the shoulder, several ticks crowded inside a protected crease. One was slightly larger than the others. The adult finch leaned down and removed it with one precise pull. The parasite detached cleanly. The juvenile watched from the rock below. Instead of searching an entire lava shelf for scattered insects, the birds had found concentrated prey across one large animal. The young finch hopped onto the lower side of the iguana. The reptile shifted suddenly. The juvenile jumped back to the rock. For several moments, it remained at a distance. Then the iguana became still again. The juvenile returned and advanced in short, cautious hops toward the neck. The tick load became denser beneath the jaw and around the shoulder base. The young bird removed one small parasite with a quick peck. The adult competitor immediately moved closer. Both birds now focused on the same heavily infested fold. One swollen tick was attached deeper between the scales. The juvenile reached it first, It gripped the swollen body with the tip of its bill and pulled. The tick remained attached. The iguana adjusted one front claw. Dark scales and clusters of ticks shifted beneath the juvenile's feet. The young bird changed position and pulled again. Dry shelf. One heavy forefoot landed close to the birds. Neither finch was struck, but the movement forced them toward the tidal edge. The swollen tick rolled into a shallow depression. The juvenile reached it. The adult competitor closed in. A wave struck the outer ledge. White water rose behind them. The adult finch abandoned the prey and took flight. The juvenile pecked once at the tick. The first sheet of water crossed the lower rock. The young bird released the prey and jumped toward a raised lava ridge. Water surged across the place where it had been standing and pressed its heavily infested neck against a rough, raised edge of lava. Loose salt, skin fragments, and tiny pieces of organic debris fell beneath the rubbing point. Several small ticks also lost their grip. The adult competitor climbed onto the iguana again. The juvenile watched from below. This time, it did not climb back onto the neck. Instead, it waited beneath the rubbing edge. A small beetle fell with a loose skin fragment. The juvenile caught it before the adult could return. Another tiny arthropod moved beneath a patch of algae. The young bird secured it without approaching the iguana's claws or the tidal ledge. In this scientifically grounded reconstruction, the birds exploit prey concentrated across the iguana's heavily infested body. The finches gain access to animal food. The marine iguana may receive limited incidental relief when some parasites are removed. But the interaction does not require friendship, rescue, or coordinated teamwork. The birds are feeding. The iguana is tolerating their presence for a limited time. The juvenile pushed its bill into one final crack. A tiny arthropod moved inside. The bird caught it and continued across the volcanic shoreline. Its search for the next meal had already begun.